Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1977 and we're going to be looking at Dickey Betts and Great Southern, and they're going to be playing through Bougainvillea. So let's get the guys up on screen and see how they get on.
Sing your song for my lover, for my lover in need. Sweet Bougainvillea, let her wear your flower in her. You will always be, always be our love song. She was so afraid to give her heart away. Before she even knows, I'll hold her close to me. Sweet Bougainvillea, let her know she's free.
I'm just going to jump in here before the main lead section because we have got some sound issues in terms of the mix. It sounds like the sound guy hasn't marked the channels, so when he's trying to boost Dickey's lead guitar volume, he's actually boosting the bass. And I think another problem here is that even though there's two drum kits, it doesn't sound like they're mic'd up, or at least what we're hearing might be the vocal mic picking up the sound of the drums. So the mix is a little bit topsy-turvy here, and I think it will continue to be throughout the video, but hopefully there'll be some parts where we can hear Dickey's playing and the classic control that he's got with his vibrato. And we've also got a really dry sound here on the mic, but also with Dickey's tone, you can hear that there's a little bit of distortion on there, but he will roll off the volume and roll off a bit of that distortion so that he gets an even cleaner sound to his lead. So you can look out for that, but we'll see how we get on with the sound and continue with the video. I'm just going to jump in here because even with the issues with the mix that we've got here, you can't make Dickey Betts sound bad. And that's the beauty of a player like this, but also the top players. I always say that if you can get a clean tone to sound great, then that is it. That's the job done. Anything else is just going to embellish the sound. So at points here, we really have got peaks in the tone and the sound of the mix in terms of Dickey's guitar really cutting through. And you can hear the control that he's got on that fretboard. And Dickey's vibrato, for me, is just really top notch, right up there, the control that he's got. And what you get with Dickey's playing is that control of every aspect, including the vibrato and that expression, but also the harmonized guitars playing lead melodically, and he will have melodic components that are like choruses within his lead. So you might have a chorus section where he just repeats a particular line. Obviously it's not a chorus, but it is effectively like that in the middle of a solo. He'll go back to a particular line, keep repeating it, and then have that harmony line in there as well. And when he played with Duane Allman, they very much had that sound. They pioneered that sound, brought it to the forefront of having those two guitars playing melodically but also harmonizing with each other, and it gives such a great sound when you've got players as good as that harmonizing with each other on the fretboard. And Dickey, a founding member of the Allman Brothers Band, and they're a band that have featured on this channel quite a lot just because of the amount of talent, especially on guitar, that band has seen throughout the years. It is amazing just to run through some of the guys that have played with the Allman Brothers Band and have always been linked, like I say about Butch Trucks being the uncle of Derek Trucks. There's so many really cool links in there and so many great players across the board in the band. And in the intro we also got to hear the way that he really tastefully uses those fills, so not just playing chords but extemporizing around those chords with his fill shapes and not necessarily playing single notes, single lead notes. So it just fills in that sound, and it makes such a difference when you've got somebody on the fretboard like Dickey who can throw in that chord sound and then throw in a fill shape where he is barring and throwing in shapes that fill out the sound rather than going to single notes. Of course, we know that he can go into single lead notes, but it is always that appreciation of melody and trying to embellish the overall composition, and that's exactly what he does all the time, whether he's playing rhythm, fills, or lead. You'll also see that he just tweaks his tuning throughout the performance just to make sure it maintains that pitch. I think he does have a quick tune-up before he starts the track, but they were just straight into it, so not a lot of time to get into detail with the tuning. But when you've got a player like Dickey, he can just tune it as he goes and then get it absolutely spot on. The other thing that I mentioned about just rolling off the tone, in terms of rolling that volume down, just takes the distortion edge off that tone for that really cool, clean sound. Unfortunately, because of the mix, we don't really get to appreciate it fully. This song was written by Dickey Betts and Don Johnson, and I think after this, Don Johnson was then known for being in Miami Vice. It's a show that we don't get over here in the UK, but maybe you guys know it over in the USA. But those two wrote this track, and it was released in 1977. Let's just finish off the track.
She was so afraid to give her heart away. Now before she even knows, I hold her close to me. Sweet golden billiard, let her know. Oh, she's free.
have it. Right at the end there, just really highlighting that melodic component that I was talking about earlier. Just having a great line, such a strong melody within the lead, and just repeating that line and adding that harmony behind it as well is so effective, and evidence that you just don't need to try and shred somebody's face off in order to have an impact on an audience. And that is the thing with Dickey Betts, is that the guitar lines that he played were great to start with, really strong melodic lines, but then he'd add that melody, that harmony line behind it as well, and it just made it twice as good. And the other video that I did on this channel that featured Dickey, he was playing through Jessica, one of his monster hits that he's written. He also wrote Ramblin' Man as well, and that's for the Allman Brothers Band. So he's got that ear for melody with writing as well. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well. I think that was 1995 he was inducted. So he's just that all-round guitar player, but also a guy that can write. And I always say that that's always a big step for a great guitarist, to then be able to write melodically, but also write hits, because generally you can have a person that just writes songs and that's it. Quick shout out as well just to the whole band for keeping it all together. Not that we had a great mix of the full band, but another shout out as well to Dan Tola on that rhythm guitar, also supplying those harmony vocals too, and harmonizing with Dickey Betts. When Dickey was playing his lead lines, Dan's got to make sure he gets that phrasing exactly right, and he absolutely does. So a great performance from Dan as well. Dickey's name is always in these top 100 guitarists of all time lists. He's usually in there, you're quite high up, just for me, because of the control and the melody that he puts into his playing, because it is so difficult to write something that's memorable and that you can repeat, and something that you want to repeat because it's so good, but Dickey just has that ability. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!